than the defense.
May it please the court, counsel, members of the jury. His name was George Perry Floyd Jr., and he was born on October 14, 1973, in Fayetteville, North Carolina. To his parents, George Floyd Sr. and Larcinia Jones Floyd, Sissy, the matriarch. Now, you met George Floyd's brother, Philonis, and you heard all about Sissy Floyd. She was George Floyd's mom. She was the mom of the house. She was the mom of the neighborhood. And you heard about the special bond that she and George Floyd shared during his life. You heard about their relationship, how he would always take time, special attention to be with his mother, how he would still cuddle with her in the fetal position. You heard that. And from George Floyd's brother, you learned all about George's childhood. And during his time growing up in that house, George Floyd was surrounded by people he knew, people who knew him, people he recognized, a familiar face to pick out in the crowd. People need that. George Floyd was surrounded by people he cared about and who cared about him throughout his life, throughout his childhood in that house, through his adolescence, into his adulthood. On May 25, 2020, George Floyd died, face down on the pavement, right on 38th in Chicago, in Minneapolis. Nine minutes and 29 seconds. 9 minutes and 29 seconds. During this time, George Floyd struggled, desperate to breathe, to make enough room in his chest to breathe. But the force was too much. He was trapped. He was trapped with the unyielding pavement underneath him, as unyielding as the men who held him down, pushing him. A knee to the neck, a knee to the back, twisting his fingers, holding his legs for 9 minutes and 29 seconds, the defendant's weight on him. The lungs in his chest unable to expand because there wasn't enough room to breathe. George Floyd tried. He pushed his bare shoulder against the pavement to lift himself, to give his chest, to give his lungs enough room in his chest to breathe, with the pavement tearing into his bare skin. As he desperately pushed with his knuckles to make space so he'd have room to breathe, the pavement lacerating his knuckles. The defendant stayed on top of him for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. So desperate to breathe, he pushed with his face, to lift himself, to open his chest, to give his lungs room to breathe. The pavement tearing into his skin, George Floyd losing strength, not superhuman strength. There was no superhuman strength that day. There's no superhuman strength because there's no such thing as a superhuman. Those exist in comic books. And 38th in Chicago is a very real place. Not superhumans, only humans. Just a human, just a man lying on the pavement, being pressed upon, desperately crying out. A grown man crying out for his mother. A human being. And in that time and in that place, while he was surrounded in life by people he knew him, faces he could pick out, there was no one there he knew. He was surrounded by strangers. Strangers, all of them. 9 minutes and 29 seconds. He's surrounded by strangers, not a familiar face to say his final words. But he did say them to someone. He said them to someone who he did not know by name, but he knew him from the uniform he wore and the badge he wore. And he called him Mr. Officer. That's what he called him, Mr. Officer. Mr. Officer would help. We call the police when we need help. And he pleaded with Mr. Officer. George Floyd's final words on May 25, 2020 were, "Please, I can't breathe." And he said those words to Mr. Officer. He said those words to the defendant. He asked for help with his very last breath. But Mr. Officer did not help. The defendant did not help. He stayed on top of him, continued to push him down, to grind his knees, to twist his hand, to twist his fingers into the handcuffs that bound him, looking at him, staring down at times the horrified bystanders who had gathered and watched this unfold. The motto of the Minneapolis Police Department is to protect with courage and to serve with compassion. But George Floyd was not a threat to anyone. He wasn't trying to hurt anyone. He wasn't trying to do anything to anyone. Facing George Floyd that day, that did not require 1 ounce of courage, and none was shown.
Shalom. Shalom. Can everybody hear us? Put a 7 in the chat if you can hear us. We're going to talk about this little case today. It's going on live. You're watching it. The part I'm showing you happened about 10 minutes ago. Went backwards. We're going to talk about it today, though. Hit the like button as y'all come in the building. So Israel can see, because I'm pretty positive we got blacklisted after last night. The Muslims have been reporting us. So hit the like button, share the video when you come in so Israel can see it. All right. But yeah, as you see, today we're going to be talking about how slack the judgment is in America. We got Esau up here trying to defend our brother. And the fact that he's having to do it, the way that he's having to do it is pretty ridiculous, wouldn't you say? Because everybody saw what happened. It was obvious. The brother was killed. And they're having to play the prosecution out like this. What I want to do, while we wait for some people to get up in here, I'm playing the clip before we get into the scripts. It's going to be a short class today. You know what I'm saying? Just a little wake-up call type thing. But I want to play it so y'all can hear the judge, right? Give me a second. Let me go backwards. He gave some statements on what he wants to see and stuff like that. So I want y'all to hear this.
Fact may be proven by either direct or circumstantial evidence, or by both. The law does not prefer one form of evidence over the other. A fact is proven by direct evidence when, for example, it is proven by witnesses who testify as to what they saw, heard.
The back seat of that SUV.
To have knowledge or knew requires only that the defendant believes that the specified facts exist. Intentionally or intentional means that the defendant either has a purpose to do the thing or cause the result specified, or believes that the act performed if successful will cause the result. Intentionally to have knowledge of acts alters the natural to the death, a natural course, or caused the death.
All right. So look, what the judge is about to explain basically. Hold on, let me get there.
Is that actions they think from other witnessed by the ordinary processes of the law.
All right. So basically, what the judge is about to explain is what he wants to see from the case. If you were on that clubhouse that one day when y'all were always talking about it, and the brothers on the clubhouse were speaking about this case, he was playing it. Him and Shahpar, like in the times that they could, they were playing the case for whatever day it was when they were going against the prosecution, and they were interviewing the MMA fighter and you know, the fire chief and all these different people that were there that had encounters with the officer and stuff like that and saw what were happening, and claims that they tried to stop it but they couldn't because of the police, right? These people they put them on the stand, and as they were being asked questions by the prosecutors, the judge was stopping them from saying certain things because he's obviously on the side of the cop. Certain things that he's mentioning while he's, speaking is going to basically prove that to you, right? He's reading this basically to explain to you that they got to prove George Floyd's death without a shadow of a doubt, without reasonable doubt, right? And he's going to go into depth because there's certain things that he doesn't want you to say while trying to explain or prove reasonable doubt and all that type of stuff. And he's been given the defense the opportunity to strike these things from the record book. He basically said it's because from his opinion of the law, if an officer is doing something in the line of duty and he doesn't seem like it was something he wasn't warranted to do, he's automatically not guilty. So if he killed George Floyd and there's a speck of a possibility as to why he could have done it, which is why they're saying, oh, he was distracted by the MMA fighter. He sees this big black guy coming at him, right? So it distracted him. So instead of thinking to get off of the black man's neck who he's on top of, he just stayed on the guy, and because he was scared for his life, even though he didn't know the big black dude was an MMA fighter at the time, because there's nobody that asked him in the video, hey, what do you do for a living? And he said, I'm an MMA fighter. Wasn't nothing like that happened. He was just cussing out the police officer and stuff. The cop is smiling, looking at him and twisting his head and twisting his wrists on George Floyd's neck, and he's got his knees and he keeps moving, adjusting himself and all that type of stuff, right? So this is what was happening, and then the fire chief comes and tries to do the same thing, and it just escalates. So there's proof as to how the man died, but you're gonna see certain things that the judge is telling you. He's gonna basically say, in his little speech before the prosecution gets back on the stand and they're allowed to speak and try to sway the jury this one last time. He's going to explain that there's certain things they're not allowed to say and all that type of stuff. And the prosecutor is actually going to mention it again, right? Because he saw what was happening the first day when the prosecution wasn't allowed to answer any questions and everything was getting stricken from the book. So just pay attention to what's being said, you know what I'm saying? And then we're going to get some scripts to prove how the judgment is slack, and we're going to wrap it up real short and sweet, all right? So
law, you have a copy on your seat. You may, in fact, I would encourage that you follow along as I read them to you. There will be a point where I'll ask you to put the remaining instructions under your chair so that you can listen to the closing arguments of counsel. So members of the jury, I instruct you as follows. It is your duty to decide the questions of fact in this case. It is my duty to give you the rules of law that you must apply in arriving at your verdict. You have now heard the evidence, and soon you'll hear the arguments of counsel. At this time, I will instruct you in the law applicable to this case. You must follow and apply the rules of law as I give them to you, even if you believe the law is or should be different. You have each been given a copy of these instructions to follow along as I read, and you may take your copy with you when you retire to the jury room. Nevertheless, you should listen carefully and attentively as I read them to you now. Please note that the titles of the individual sections of these instructions are not a part of the instructions, but merely placed as headings to assist you in finding a topic. Deciding questions of fact is your exclusive responsibility. In doing so, you must consider all the evidence you have heard and seen in this trial, and you must disregard anything that you may have heard or seen elsewhere about this case. I have not, by these instructions, nor by any ruling or expression during the trial.
You see this? So he's telling the jury off rip, disregard anything you heard about this case, any preconceived notions you had, let them things go. What you think you saw on the TV, all them different times that you've watched this man die with the knee on his neck, just forget all them images and listen to what the prosecution says and only make your judgment based off what is said in this courtroom and not stricken from the record book. In layman's terms, that's what he just told the jury. Okay?
Intended to indicate my opinion regarding the facts or the outcome of this case. If I have said or done anything that would seem to indicate such an opinion, you must consider these instructions as a whole and regard each instruction in light of all the others. The order in which the instructions are given is of no significance. You are free to consider the issues in any order you wish. The defendant is presumed innocent of the charges made. This presumption remains with the defendant unless and until he has been proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The fact that the defendant has been brought before the court by the ordinary processes of the law and is on trial should not be considered by you in any way suggesting guilt. The burden of proving guilt is on the state. The defendant.
See? So jury, when you guys go have your conversation, y'all just can't say what you feel and have your opinions based on what you think is guilt and that type of stuff, right? Only people that can determine guilt is the state.
Does not have.
Meaning him. He's the only one.
To prove his innocence. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt is such proof.
Now listen to this.
Proof as ordinarily prudent men and women would act upon in their most important affairs. A reasonable doubt is a doubt based upon reason and common sense. It does not mean a fanciful or capricious doubt, nor does it mean beyond all possibility of doubt. A fact may be proven by either direct or circumstantial evidence, or by both. The law does not prefer one form of evidence over the other. A fact is proven by direct evidence when, for example, it is proven by witnesses who testify as to what they saw, heard, or experienced, or by physical evidence of the fact itself. A fact is proven by circumstantial evidence when its existence can be reasonably inferred from other facts proven in the case. For example, if a person watches deer crossing a snow-covered field, the person has direct evidence of deer walking in the field because the person sees it. If the person does not see deer but finds deer tracks in the snow, the deer tracks are circumstantial evidence that deer walked in the field because that factual conclusion can reasonably be inferred from the tracks found in the snow.
So he's saying that if there's any circumstantial evidence, it has to still prove without a reasonable doubt. Something like, as simple as if you see deer walking through the snow in the woods, you know there was something there because you know what hooves look like and you see the damn tracks in the snow. So there's been doctors who've come up, and the prosecutor is going to mention all of this, right? There's been doctors who have come through and basically explained how the case has transpired. And when things were happening while George was on the ground, they showed certain images of him using his face to get up off the ground and stuff like that, like the Edomite was mentioning earlier, right? So all of this stuff has been seen by the prosecution, but the judge is reiterating, he already told them whatever you saw before, just, let them feelings go. Only make your judgment based off what's said today here in the court. So.
Now, attorneys are officers of the court. It is their duty to make objections they think proper and to argue their client's cause. However, the arguments or other remarks of an attorney are not evidence. If the
Who you talking to, JH? 125. You talking to me?
attorneys or I have made or should make any statement as to what the evidence is that differs from your recollection of the evidence, you should disregard the statement and rely solely on your own memory. If an attorney's argument contains any statement of the law that differs from the law I give you, disregard the attorney's statement.
Do you see? So if the attorney says something different than what I just said, and it makes you it gives you some type of emotion that I just told you can't have, that makes you feel like Derek Chauvin could be guilty, disregard what the prosecutor has said. Disregard what the attorney has said. Disregard anything that goes against the feelings that I've told you right now in this moment to have towards this case. The judge is allowed to do this. For those of you that never seen a real trial and a prosecution and stuff like that, this is why the cops keep getting off not guilty. The scriptures say specifically they judge themselves not guilty because the judge who represents them is allowed to do this type of shit. Excuse my language.
The state has brought 3 charges or counts against the defendant. Each count charges a separate and distinct offense. You must consider the evidence applicable to each count as though it were the only accusation before you for consideration, and you must state your findings as to each count in a separate verdict, uninfluenced by the fact that your verdict as to any other count or counts is in favor of or against the defendant. The defendant may be found guilty or not guilty of any or all of the offenses charged, depending on the evidence and the weight you give it under the court's instructions. I'm about to instruct you on the law that you are to apply to the charges in the defense, but before doing so, I am going to define a few words and phrases that appear more than...
Nah, Gilbert, you would think, right, that the dead man on the ground is evidence enough, but it's not, right? It's not evidence enough because it's circumstantial. They have the tailpipe that they're trying to say. He could have inhaled too much exhaust from the tailpipe, which caused him to die. What's up, DD? You know what I'm saying? He could have, they said he had an enlarged heart. So he was going to have heart disease one day. So he just died miraculously of this heart disease that he didn't have yet, but was going to have because he had an enlarged heart, right? Or, he did drugs. They said he had fentanyl in the system. So he just happened to die of a drug overdose. He was fine the whole day. But once he gets on the ground and the knees on his neck, then that's when the drug overdose happens till you just take him over, right? So now the prosecution has presented these things. The judge is satisfied with the things they presented. So now you have to make your decision based off those things. Because the judge already told you, you can only make your decision based off the things I've allowed you to make your decision off in the court today. Any other type of evidence that you're given today that isn't stuff that I've allowed to not be stricken from the record book in any trial prior to this, any day prior to this, then disregard what the attorney said, right? So no, that's not evidence. You would think it is, but judgment is slack. We're going to prove it biblically.
Than once in the elements of the charges and the defense that follow. The words and phrases being defined are bolded in the written copy of the instructions you will be receiving. You should use these definitions for these words and phrases in your deliberation. Attempted means that the defendant did an act which was a substantial step toward and more than mere preparation for causing the result, and that the defendant did that act with intent to cause that result. There are several forms of bodily harm relevant to some of the charges or the defense. Bodily harm means physical pain or injury, illness.
Yeah, my name is still the same.
Or any impairment of a person's physical condition. Substantial bodily harm means bodily harm that involves a temporary but substantial disfigurement, that causes a temporary but substantial loss or impairment of the function of any bodily member or organ, or that causes a fracture of any bodily member. Great bodily harm.
So look, wait, I'm going to rewind this. Listen.
Substantial bodily harm means bodily harm that involves a temporary but substantial disfigurement, that causes a temporary but substantial loss or impairment of the function.
No, watch. He's talking about temporary disfigurement, loss of impairment, anything like that, right? The man passed out about twice while waking up, asking for air, gasping for air. The prosecutor is going to mention how he lost skin on his chest, his knuckles, and his hands because he was trying to push up. He was trying to push the cops off of him with so much force that skin was literally coming off his body during that 10 minutes that he was on the ground. You understand what I'm saying? He even got marks on his face because at some point he tried to push up off the ground with his freaking forehead, and it didn't work because he's trying to do anything he can to get his lungs off the floor so he could get some oxygen to his lungs so he could breathe, but he can't because the way that Derek is on his neck. Then there's another cop on his abdomen and another cop holding his legs down. So he's got 3 grown-ass men on top of him, which is why he can't get up. You understand me? So
function of any bodily member or organ, or they cause
he pissed on himself and shit himself. They're not going to consider that a dysfunction of any bodily organ. You understand? The judge just said that would be circumstantial evidence for bodily harm, right? If he shit himself and his organs failed, then that counts. This happened, and I bet it don't get seen as something. He's probably going to get triggered from the record book.
causes a fracture of any bodily member. Great bodily harm means bodily injury that creates a high probability of death, that causes serious permanent disfigurement, or that causes a permanent or protracted loss or impairment of the function of any bodily member or organ, or other serious bodily harm. To cause death, causing death, or caused the death means that the defendant's act or acts were a substantial causal factor in causing the death of George Floyd.
As if we haven't seen this already, right? So the prosecutor, he's going to be pissed off when he get on the stand. He's going to start telling people, bro, use your common sense. The same thing we've been saying in the clubhouse, right? Believe what you saw with your eyes. Because the judge is telling them right now, yo, this prosecutor about to come up here and say some things that sound convincing. I don't want you guys to get in your feelings and get emotional about what the prosecutor is going to say. Just disregard anything that has nothing to do with the case as I've told you and as I've structured it up to this point. The judge is preparing everybody to not listen to nothing that the damn prosecutor is about to say. And everything he's going to say makes sense.
The defendant is criminally liable for all the consequences of his actions that occur in the ordinary and natural course of events, including those consequences brought about by one or more intervening causes, if such intervening causes were the natural result of the defendant's acts.
So his death has to be based on intervening causes by Derek Chauvin, right? As if the knee in the neck isn't intervening causes. What's a knee in the neck intervene? It intervenes freaking air from flowing through your damn body, right? Blood from flowing through your body, all type of stuff. You have pulmonary arteries and all type of stuff over there that if you puncture them, or if they're like if they're restricted, blood can't get to certain parts of the body, you know, you could become paralyzed because of the blood not circulating through those parts of the body, you know, that type of stuff. There's a whole bunch of circumstantial evidence that they have just from his knee being on his neck, right? There's bruises on the brother's back from the cop that was on his abdomen and stuff because he had 2 knees on the back as well. That's where your ribs are. So you got 2 cops stopping him and restricting his airflow and stuff like that. But the judge isn't going to look at that as circumstantial evidence because it could have been a tailpipe. It could have been his enlarged heart. It could have been the fentanyl that they sprinkled on his body at the morgue, right?
The fact that other causes contribute to the death does not relieve the defendant of criminal liability. However,
see, the fact that there's some things that Derek Chauvin did may have led to the death, it doesn't defer him of criminal liability. However, right, if it was a nigga, hey, he did some things that killed the man, put him in jail. But Esau gets a however. What's he gonna say next?
The defendant is not criminally liable if a superseding cause caused the death.
So, however, the criminal is not liable if the superseding cause caused the death. What's the superseding cause? Possible drug overdose from the fentanyl that they sprinkled on his body. A possible heart failure because he had an enlarged heart. Even though he didn't have heart cancer yet, he had an enlarged heart. So he could have been that. It just could have took over because all this blood was trying to pump through his body. His heart just might have failed. Right? Even though he just said that would still make Derek liable for the murder because he was causing the man not to be able to breathe. But however, if there's anything else that could have caused him to not die at the hands of Derek Chauvin, he's going to get off.
A superseding cause is a cause that comes after the defendant's acts, alters the natural.
See, so after the defendant's act. So if there's a superseding cause, as in, i.e., Derek Chauvin gets on his neck, the other two cops are on his body as well. But if he inhales some of that exhaust from the back after they're already on his neck and the exhaust killed him, then it's not Derek's fault. If his heart failed while they're on his neck after they've been on his neck for 9 minutes, it's not Derek's fault because it was his heart, right? If he had a drug overdose and the drugs just took over his body and he happened to die after they got on his neck, it's not their fault. Do you see how none of this shit makes sense? But it makes sense to the judge in that big old skull cranium Rottweiler head he got right there.
Sequence of events and is the sole cause of a result that would not otherwise have occurred. To have knowledge or knew requires only that the defendant believes that the specified facts exist.
Only if the defendant believes that the specified evidence exists. They're going to give Derek the ability to say whether something happened or not after we done all seen the shit on camera. The defendant gets the chance to defend himself and say whether or not evidence exists. When do they ever do this with us? When do we ever go to court and get to say when the hell something get to happen and when it don't? You guys
say that slow again. He said what?
Here, I'm gonna rewind it. This is the stuff that y'all don't know that happens in cases. This is why brothers is always in the damn courtroom, man, and why we never get to leave the courtroom without no damn handcuffs, because the judges do shit like this.
A cause is a cause that comes after the defendant's acts, alters the natural sequence of events, and is the sole cause of a result that would not otherwise have occurred. To have knowledge or knew requires only that the defendant believes that the specified facts exist.
See, for this to be acknowledged, it has to be known by Derek Chauvin that the specified evidence actually exists. So if Derek says the car was on, nobody else said the car was on the whole damn case. But if Derek says the car might have been on, we don't have no evidence to prove it wasn't on because you can't hear it in the video. Oh, circumstantial evidence. It might have been the exhaust pipes. He just got off.
Hey, Salaki. Real quick. I think all three of us have dealt with the police at some point in our life, right? When do you ever see the police turn their car off?
Never.
They never cut their car. They can run in McDonald's. Their car is still on. So that's.
But you know, they don't ever got to prove nothing either, though, right?
Yeah,
they don't ever got to prove nothing. And the thing is, it's not the police car that he was by. See, he was by his car. They pulled him up out that gray Jeep and put him on the side of the gray Jeep and laid him on the floor by the gray Jeep. So they're trying to say his car killed him, right? But then they never tell us whether the car was actually on and running or not. And the prosecution said that before, and you know what the judge said? Strike it from the record book. Circumstantial evidence. Can't prove whether it happened or not. Derek says that he don't know if the car was on, so you got to take it out the record book. Because he just told you any evidence used against Derek has the ability to say, I don't remember that being there. And if he says, I don't remember it happening like that, the judge is going to say, strike it from the record. Okay? Pay attention. This is Esau.
Intentionally or intentional means that the defendant either has a purpose to do the thing or cause the result specified, or believes that the act performed, if successful, will cause the result. In addition,
do you see this? He's setting it up for him to win. If Derek says, you know, I've had my knee on niggas' necks before and they didn't die, so why did this nigga happen to die? You guys know I've been called for harassment before on black people, right? Lil Troy that had my back at the thing, he's been called for harassment on black people. We're known for having excessive force during our tenure as police officers in Minneapolis. I've never killed anybody else, though. I put my neck on niggas' necks all the time. I put my knee on niggas' necks all the time. Right? So as long as he says, well, the position I had him in hasn't killed anybody else, why'd he kill him? He's getting off. The judge just told you. If Derek don't feel like the position he had George Floyd in was a position that could have killed him, then the evidence won't count. The judge just said that.
The defendant must have knowledge of those facts that are necessary to.
The defendant must have knowledge of the facts that are necessary to prosecute him. He has to have knowledge of the things that are coming back at him to say that this happened or not. If he denies knowledge of those things, he's getting denied a jail cell.
That are set forth after the word intentionally or intentional. With intent that.
Meaning he has to prove that he intentionally killed George Floyd and that the death of George Floyd was intentional. If he says, I didn't intentionally mean to kill him with my knee on his neck for 9 minutes, he's getting off. That's all he got to say. That's simple. So you wonder why Derek doesn't look nervous and hasn't looked nervous the whole damn case? Because from the beginning, he knew he wasn't going to jail.
With intent to or intent.
He never had to, he didn't even need a lawyer because the judge is doing the shit for him. You understand me? He could have came in there and defended himself. That's why they got that South African dude who brought up the tailpipe junk, because they already knew it was going to be a case where they didn't need nobody to defend him. Let's just make up some bullshit and, you know, we'll let the judge take it from there. Mr. Peter Cahill.
Means that the defendant either has a purpose to do the thing or cause the result specified, or believes that the act performed, if successful, will cause that result.
All right, I'm done with that. So let's hear the prosecution.
9 minutes and 29 seconds. Right on 38th in Chicago, in Minneapolis. Nine minutes and 29 seconds. 9 minutes and 29 seconds. During this time, George Floyd struggled, desperate to breathe, to make enough room in his chest to breathe. But the force was too much. He was trapped. He was trapped with the unyielding pavement underneath him, as unyielding as the men who held him down, pushing him. A knee to the neck, a knee to the back, twisting his fingers, holding his legs for 9 minutes and 29 seconds, the defendant's weight on him. The lungs in his chest unable to expand because there wasn't enough room to breathe. George Floyd tried. He pushed his bare shoulder against the pavement to lift himself, to give his chest, to give his lungs enough room in his chest to breathe, with the pavement tearing into his bare skin.
Oh, we have circumstantial evidence. He lost skin due to the pavement trying to breathe. This shit indicates right here, based off what Rockwaller had said. Let's see if it's going to happen, guys. He just delivered circumstantial evidence.
As he desperately pushed with his knuckles to make space so he'd have room to breathe, the pavement lacerating his knuckles.
Oh, so now he's got lacerations on his shoulders and lacerations on his knuckles. Circumstantial evidence. It only happened because the damn crackers was on his body. He couldn't get off the ground. That's what Esau is telling him about his little brother, right?
The defendant stayed on top of him for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. So desperate to breathe, he pushed with him.
Watching this is supposed to make y'all mad. Oppression make a wise man mad. If you don't get mad watching this case, you are probably an Edomite.
His face. With his face. To lift himself.
Oh, circumstantial evidence. Now he's using his face on the concrete. He gonna have lacerations on his face because he's using his face to push up off the ground.
In his chest to give his lungs room to breathe. The pavement tearing into his skin. George Floyd losing strength. Not superhuman strength. There was no superhuman strength.
Yeah, because you know that's how they try to make it out, right? George Floyd, this big old 6'7" black man, you know what I'm saying? He's got to be super strong because he's super tall. What the hell sense does that make? He's got superhuman strength. He's a giant, big old black guy, right? Of course, he could pick up 3 guys and just carry their weight off of him. Wow, y'all say he's on fentanyl. So like, let's get this straight. He's a drug addict. He's on a drug that's damn near like crack cocaine, fentanyl. Do the same damn thing to you, right? You ever seen a crackhead with superhuman strength? Because I never seen that in my life. You know what I'm saying? They usually weak. So what the hell make you think that this black man, who y'all already told us had fentanyl in his system, is gonna have the superhuman strength to take 3 white men, grown ass white men at that, off of his body? What sense does that make? Right? Moving on.
That day. There's no superhuman strength because there's no such thing as a superhuman.
Yeah.
Those exist in comic books. The 38th in Chicago is a very real place. Not superhumans. Only humans. Just a human, just a man, lying on the pavement, being pressed upon, desperately crying out. A grown man crying out for his mother.
You see that? A grown man crying out for his mother. He has to mention these type of things in the case because he's trying to make the jury feel bad for George. That's about the only option he has at this point. Why? Because the judge has already made it impossible for him to get this guy doing anything else. Now the only thing you can do is try to see if these crackers got sympathy for the black man. Right? Do we know what the jurors look like? Have we seen the jurors yet? Yeah, see, so I can bet money that it's like one black person in the whole jury. Cause that's how they did it the last time what you call it? That's how they did it the last time in Minneapolis. I think with the Philando Castile thing, when Moab or Amin killed the brother, he got off. There was only one black juror in the whole damn thing. Everybody else was white. They didn't have no sympathy for Philando, so he, Moab got off. You know what I'm saying? Stop Asian hate.
A human being. And in that time, and in that place, while he was surrounded in life by people
Look
who
at
knew
this.
him, faces he could pick out.
All these people watching, you know what I'm saying? There's little Choi, right? Stop Asian hate right there, blocking everybody. That's the MMA fighter. This the white lady that was there, and the police chief comes after them. So all of these people are watching the man just get put to death. Derek Chauvin says that he's distracted by the black guy, but look at where Derek is looking. Derek is looking down at George Floyd. He's looking down at George Floyd, not even worried about the brother here that's talking to Choi. Tao, whatever his name is. Yeah, that's his name, Tao, right? Tao. So y'all see, like, just looking at this picture, the whole case should be thrown out the window because his prosecution was, his defense was, well, all these people were there watching. I was distracted. That's why I stayed on his that's why I stayed on his neck for 9 minutes. I didn't know it was 9 minutes. I was distracted. There was a big black guy cussing at us the whole time. Right? But where's his head? It don't look like he's worried about that guy. It look like he's worried about, like he might be applying more pressure to George's neck right now as this picture is captured.
There was no one there he knew. He was surrounded by strangers. Strangers, all of them. 9 minutes and 29 seconds. He's surrounded by strangers, not a familiar face to say his final words. But he did say them to someone. He said them to someone who he did not know by name, but he knew him from the uniform he wore and the badge he wore. And he called him Mr. Officer. That's what he called him, Mr. Officer. Mr. Officer would help. We call the police when we need help. And he pleaded with Mr. Officer. George Floyd's final words on May 25, 2020 were, "Please, I can't breathe." And he asked for help with his very last breath. But Mr. Officer did not help. The defendant did not help. He stayed on top of him, continued to push him down, to grind his knees, to twist his hands.
Circumstantial evidence. Right? He's proving it again. Esau was on his neck. He had intention to kill him. He was asking for help, and he didn't get off of him and help him, as a cop is supposed to, a public servant. He's supposed to serve the public. Somebody in the public was asking you to help me and get the hell off of me, and you didn't. You stayed on his neck, and he died. Circumstantial evidence. Based off what the judge said earlier, the case should now be over. Right?
To twist his fingers into the handcuffs that bound him, looking at him, staring
staring at him, as we just saw in the video. So now he's pointing this out. He's not even looking at him with any type of remorse. He's looking down at the man, smiling while he's dying.
Staring down at times the horrified bystanders who had gathered and watched this unfold.
See, why are the horrified bystanders gathered and watching it unfold? Because they see this cracker just smiling with this sadistic look on his face while a man is losing life under him. Esau got to see what it was like to actually kill Jacob and feel the life go out of his body, and you got to see it. You got to see Cain kill Abel on television.
The motto of the Minneapolis Police Department is to protect with courage and to serve with compassion the public. The defendant, he didn't do that because that day his badge just wasn't in the right place. The defendant was a police officer. He was.
Look at that face. That face ain't the face like, yeah, I'm gonna help this man. He need help. That face is like, nigga, if you don't get out my face while I'm killing your brother. That's the face he was showing. It's the nigga that took this picture. The brother, the MMA fighter. That's his phone. Derek is looking at the brother like this. You see what I'm doing to your brother? Nigga. You want to come help him? I dare you to come help him. That's what I get when I look at this picture. You seen three brothers in the picture before when they showed the overall picture, the picture where they was looking at everybody. This is the face he made towards all three of them brothers and sisters that was there. Come help him out. I dare you. I'm going to stay on his neck and watch the watch the life drain out his body. And then when you come over here and you cross this line, I'm going to shoot you. But our people sit here and ask us, what about the white man? What about him? Look what he did.
And again, you need to set aside the notion that it's impossible for a police officer to do something like this. The defendant is on trial not for being a police officer. It's not the state versus the police. He's not on trial for who he was. He's on trial for what he did.
Look at this. Look at this, yo. This how you lost your brother right here. And the face that this cracker is making just tells it all. If I was a judge, I would put the motherfucker under the jail just off the picture. We don't even need no trial.
Put his ass to death.
If it was a brother, well, you know, this is America. They ain't gonna kill no cops. Cops, I've never seen a cop get the death penalty. But yeah, that's what this is, man. And the reason they don't, the judge explained it to you. They're the overseers for the Esau's kingdom. They have it written in the law that the cop can't do nothing wrong if it's circumstantial. If he felt there was a circumstance to stay on the man's neck as long as he did, then he's good. What's the circumstance? I'm looking at this black man in this picture who's looking like he wants to fight me. He keeps calling me a bitch-ass nigga and a pussy and all this type of stuff. So I'm looking at him like, well, come on over here, buddy. You want to do something? Do something. And I just lost track of time, and I was on George's neck, and he just died. He could say it just like that, and he's going to get off. Hand in the pocket. You see it? You know why the hand is in the pocket? He's pushing down on his knee. He's got a fist, and he's pushing on his knee with his fist. He's applying pressure with his hand in his pocket. That's why his face looks like that. He's killing George right now in this picture. And George's face is telling it it's reacting the way that it should. His face is getting smushed into the ground while he's asking for help. But you know, the prosecutor can't even explain the picture like this because the judge will strike it from the record book.
That is what he did on that day. Nothing they could do about it because he had the authority. He had the power of the badge.
See? Then there's nothing the people bystanding could do about it because he had the authority, he had the badge, and he knew it. That's why he made that face. Come over here, nigga. Come help him. I dare you.
The other officers and the bystanders were powerless. They were powerless to do a thing.
So that's all, man. That's all I want to show. We mad enough. Let's get some scriptures, huh? Brothers got to go teaching a little bit. I don't want y'all to be too pissed off.
I got a full clip over here.
Give me Habakkuk chapter 1, verse 2. Habakkuk.
So I'm already there. I'm already there.
Your second Ezra 11:41. Go ahead, all right.
It's the book of Habakkuk, chapter 1 and verse 2. O Yahweh, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear? Even cry out unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save.
See? But you know the only people thinking about this scripture? It ain't even the Christians. The Black Lives Matter people, they ain't thinking like this. It's us. We're the only ones. Anybody else worried about how long they gotta cry? How long we gotta keep going through this? How long we gonna keep seeing brothers die on the damn television? Whole world got to see that one. They protested in freaking Europe for George. Remember? And dude is still gonna get off because the judge is saving him. Go ahead.
Why doest thou show me iniquity and cause me to behold grievance?
Mm-hmm.
For spoiling and violence are before me, and they are that rise up, Salaki, and there are that rise up strife and contention.
Mm-hmm. Now it's gonna be strife and contention, man. Between who? If the people are smart, between Jake and Esau. That's what's supposed to happen. You know what I mean? Because oppression is supposed to make the wise man mad. It's supposed to be strife and contention, but you know what's gonna happen? They're gonna find a way to stop that. They're gonna let Derek get off. They're gonna let the niggas burn up Minneapolis, and once they ain't got nothing else to use in their own community, that's when all the fires are gonna stop. They're gonna send the National Guard in and make sure they don't go mess up no white neighborhoods. As long as they stay in their community, the National Guard just gonna sit there. They're gonna pull out the little shields and the armor and stuff, and they just gonna stand there and let them destroy the place. The National Guard don't be there to stop you from destroying anything. They're there to stop you from destroying another community, a community outside of the community that the death happened in. They know the death gonna happen in a black community. The cops ain't going killing people in white areas because if they go and have to protest in that area where the guy died, it's gonna be a problem. That's why when Ahmaud Arbery died here in Woodstock, Georgia, they made the protest in Atlanta because they didn't allow us to go tear up Woodstock where the crackers stay. Right? That's how it works. So, how long we gonna have to cry, man? How long we gotta go through this? Christians don't even know this scripture though, because it's always, what about the white man? What about Derek? Is Derek gonna get to go to heaven too? Huh? What about Amber? We gotta give Amber a hug. She's crying in the courtroom. It's okay, white girl. We ain't gonna get to see our brother again, but it's all right. You'll be free in a couple years. That's me rubbing her back. That's how they do it. Read the verse 4.
Therefore the law is slack, and judgment doeth never go forth.
So the law is slack, man. Judgment never goes forth for the Israelites. It goes forth for everybody else. The judge is making judgment against George. George died, and he's getting the judgment against him. He's supposed to be being represented by the prosecutors, but the judges turned him into the damn defendant. We having to defend whether he was on drugs or not, for real. We're having to defend whether he had an enlarged heart and that was what killed him. We're having to defend whether he inhaled too many exhaust fumes and it killed him like that. Right? Because they got them incidents when you leave the car on too long in the garage, the fumes, the CO2 and everything like that, they say could kill your family and stuff like that in the house, right? They're trying to use that same argument with George Floyd. He was facing the exhaust pipes. He could have inhaled all that stuff and just died like that. He's outside though, nigga. That means that there's a million different directions that the exhaust fumes could spread. Why do they all go into his body? What sense does that make? You only die when the fumes don't have nowhere to go because they're trapped in your garage and they have to go through your house. If you're outside in the oxygen where there's free air and free room for the fumes to move, how do they all end up going into the black man's body? He ain't breathing that much air because he couldn't breathe. He was telling you. But you know what? The prosecution can't say that because the judge will strike that from the record. He's making too much sense. You can't say that. That's too much. You made too much sense. Don't ever say that again. Strike it from the record book. You can continue. Because that's what he was doing whenever they made too much sense. So this time he went on the stand. All right, look, this is how it's going to go today. You're only going to say what I tell you can say. If you say something other than that, it's a dub. And that's what's been happening. What's going on? All right. Is that it on that, Habakkuk?
Nah, it's a little bit more.
Go ahead.
It said, for the wicked doeth compass about the righteous, therefore wrong judgment proceedeth.
Mm-hmm. So wrong judgment proceedeth, man. The wicked are compassing over the righteous. They in higher places than us. They think that there's more than they're just in the higher places of authority than we are. So the wicked get to make wicked things happen. Judgment is slack. Right? That's what's happening. And as you see, right judgment is not going forth. Wrong judgment is. The judge is telling you, if it made too much sense and it got you in your feelings, disregard what the attorney said. If the attorney says something that makes you feel sorry for this nigga who just got killed at the hands of our brother, Derek, just disregard it. That's what he said. Y'all saw it. The judge, the man making the decision. He tells us to the jury, the people who get to decide whether the man walks or not. Almost as a command, if y'all gonna stay and be juries in this case, disregard anything that makes you emotional towards the cop. I mean, towards Jordan. So that's that, man. 2nd Esdras 11:41.
This book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 11, verse 41.
Araya, give me Isaiah 59 and 14 so we can run these down.
For the earth has thou not judged with truth, for thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved liars, and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit.
You see that?
And has cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm.
They do not judge the earth with truth, man. It says they're doing the meek wrong. That's us. The peaceable.
You gotta finish this.
Yeah, you will. Even in the church, we're peaceable people. Right? What about Esau? We see all this stuff happening in our brothers. What about Esau? What about the white man? He can get to be saved too? It's because we the meek of the earth. The whole world was made for our sakes. So we have a little bit of care for everybody because they all are slaves. We just don't know it. But when you look at it, they don't care about us. Right? Michael Jackson told you niggas that. Huh? Y'all ain't listening back then and you're not listening now, man. Read what you got. Keep going.
Verse 43. Therefore is thy wrongful dealing come up to the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. The highest also have looked upon proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. And therefore appear no more thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked
See
feathers.
that? That's what we hope for, man. That the fuck, it's like that the eagle can't spread his wings no more. We want to clip them things, man, and shove them down the damn Grand Canyon. Throw all of them down there. Just watch their bodies burst. We done seeing the eagle. It's a damn. Y'all know why they call it the eagle? Do y'all know how the eagle hunts? The eagle's a pussy. The eagle's the biggest bird, but it's also the biggest B word, right? It's got like a 6'7" wingspan. Thing make Judah scared if it sprays wing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, see, the problem is, it's scared. It's like the white man. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's big and bad and everything like that, it's got to be cunning when it hunts. The strength of the appearance that it can have, it don't really have, and it knows it. So it's got to catch you off guard. You know what I'm saying?
Salaki.
What's up?
And what else is cold about them eagles, right? That you just said that. It is just like the white man. You know why? Because the eagle catches everything off guard, catches in his weak moments. You know, it'll take a rodent, take it up to the sky so it can suffocate him and die and all of that. Whatever.
It just swoop out the air like the police, bro.
But check this out. This was cold. If me, you, or Ryan right now kill one of them bald eagles, we go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Let that bald eagle snatch up one of our kids at the park or something. They ain't gonna shoot that damn eagle. I'm sorry. So we kill a cop, we going to jail, but they kill one of us. Zechariah 11:4.
So that's what we do, man. We tired of these people, bro. These eagles, man. They're not judging the earth in truth. This is why Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of the one that followed.
Let's finish this though.
Go ahead.
Come. Nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body, that all the earth may be refreshed and may return, being delivered from thy violence, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. So, hey, when it's all said and done, the world is going to be at rest, like the scriptures say. And we're going to break forth into singing. Because that violence, Esau, that man is going to be gone. And that's what we're praying for. Chapter 12 is even worse for the eagle. But
this is facts, right? Look at what the sister said, man.
Calm, yep.
You know it's injustice when we had to have a whole trial when we seen the murder on video.
How many times have we seen murders on videos, though?
Hey, let me ask you this. We didn't see no murder on video when the white boy went and shot up the damn parlors and stuff. Why the Asians already got what they want? George Floyd got killed last year, guys. It took the Asians like 3 weeks to get what they want. They got reparations and everything. They finna start rebuilding Chinatown and every city and all that stuff. Government just gave them some money for 8 people, 6 people dying because 2 of the 8 people were crackers.
For exactly why you brought out this precept in 41. It says the earth is not judged with truth.
Do you see this?
Right.
You still don't think this is the other nation's kingdom? Look at the stuff that they get to do versus what we get. Don't this have to be a state of or a condition of hell for somebody and a heaven for somebody else? It just happens to seem like the heaven got to be for all the other nations. You know what I'm saying? The Sham Samoons and the David Woods of the world. The Arabs and the crackers, the Africans, the Elamites, the Asians. They get what they want here. And we don't. They get killed, they get justice. We get killed, we get a trial. We got to pay money to get justice. And then we don't even get the result we want from the trial, even when it's seen on television. Even when there's so much circumstantial evidence, the girl who kills her brother thinks she's in her apartment. Her whole defense is, I thought it was my apartment, and it's on a whole nother floor. The walls on the floor on the way to the door don't even look the same. He got a welcome mat on the floor that you don't got, but you think it's your apartment. She only got 4 years. She gonna be getting out. They ain't told you yet. She gonna be going to a halfway house this year.
Facts.
They just ain't made it public news yet because of what's going on right now with the George Floyd case. They don't want to piss us off too much. As soon as this George Floyd thing died down, watch y'all see some Amber Geiger be in the news. Or they might not tell you. They just might bring her to the halfway house in silence and hope that you guys look it up if you want to know something about it, because they're not going to put it on the news. They don't want to piss us off.
They just did an appeal for her.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why she's getting to the halfway house. She's going to have a little ankle monitor on for 6 months, and then she's going to get to go and be a cop again. She's off, guys. And Derek ain't even going to get the punishment she got. He's going to get all the way off. She had to sit down for a year at a special facility. It was probably like a damn
minimum security protection zone.
Nah, there wasn't no middle nothing. She was at a damn hospice center. She was getting treated like an old lady. They was giving her showers and special food and cooking her breakfast, lunch, and dinner and all type of stuff. I've seen it. They got facilities for cops like that do things that, you know, and then when the cop go to jail, they don't want the cop to be in a facility with the real inmates. They take the cop to a special jail. The same type of jail they give to certain celebrities and stuff like that. The soft celebs, who they know ain't going to live and survive in a jail cell, a real one with real criminals, they bring them to the special jail, the soft one. Amber's in that type of facility, and she's being treated like a queen. I know her appeal date is this month. She's going to get the appeal. It's a wrap. You know why they're not telling you, though? They're not mentioning her because they know that this thing is happening right now. They're not going to try to piss us off. They didn't mean for George Floyd to die, and Amber got to get off the same damn month that George trial is going on.
Right.
That was an accident.
No peace. There will be no more peace in America. It's over. It's a wrap.
So they got to keep the Amber thing on a hush-hush. And they know brothers and sisters not even going to be worried about it. Y'all done forgot who the hell Amber Geiger was because of what's going on with George Floyd right now. Y'all forgot that white girl got off and everything. They ain't even got to put her on the news. They're going to show her on Fox on the 27th as she's walking out the courtroom. Right?
Shit.
That's what happened, bro. Isaiah 59:14.
God, the book of Isaiah, chapter 59 and verse 14. And judgment is turned away backward, and justice standeth afar off. For truth is fallen in the street, and equity cannot enter.
Equity, man. Do y'all know what equity is? So when y'all hear equity, I think y'all thinking like from a fiscal standpoint, a financial standpoint. But the etymology of equity is fair and impartial treatment. We got no equity in America because we don't get treated fairly. We don't get impartial treatment. We get everything opposite of what they get completely. And it's in the scriptures. Brothers would rather turn to Islam instead of this. But this is telling you your whole story. It don't make no sense. Judgment falleth away. Y'all know what that means? The judgment in the Bible for murder is what?
You gotta be killed.
You gotta be killed, right? How many murders we've seen where the person who did the killing is still alive, walking around right now?
Man, all of them.
George Zimmerman's a millionaire, guys. Y'all know that? George Zimmerman became a multi-millionaire off of killing our brother Trayvon Martin. For months, folks was, we're going to kill that cracker. This, that, and the third. Somebody going to kill him. Somebody going to kill him. Why are they happy yet? Nobody going to kill George Zimmerman. I'm not gonna kill none of these people. Derek Chauvin, when he get off, he ain't gonna get killed. When Amber Geiger get out, she ain't gonna get killed. They don't even need protection. Because Jake ain't moving like that. Y'all ain't on that type of time. Y'all worried about saving these people, man.
It's
But
like,
something we gotta do, we gotta get back to the old path. The thing that will cause us to want to, get revenge for the brothers and sisters again. Somebody give me Jeremiah 6:16. What you got, Judah?
I was asking, can the brother read verse 9?
He can read it if you still got it.
You said Jeremiah 6:16?
Yeah.
All
You talking about Isaiah 59:9?
right.
Go ahead. You're right if you got it.
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 59 and verse 9.
Hold up. John Allen, we was just at Isaiah 59:14. Now he's reading Isaiah 59:9. And what we're about to read after this is Jeremiah 6:16. All right, go ahead.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 59 and verse 9. Therefore is judgment far from us, neither doeth justice overtake us. We wait for light, but behold obscurity, for brightness, but we walk in darkness.
We waiting on that justice, man, and it don't happen. Not in this land. You know what I'm saying? Judgment and justice is far from us, man. Just wanted to bring that up.
Fall away quickly.
This is Jeremiah 6:16. Thus saith the Most High, stand ye in the ways, and see, and ask for the old paths. Where is the good way, and walk therein? And ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. Want to keep going?
That's it. We gotta get back to the old path, man. If we don't, this type of stuff is gonna keep happening. That's what the Most High is showing us. You gotta get back to the law, statutes, and commandments. If you don't, you're gonna keep losing your brothers. And there's nothing you're gonna be able to do about it. Because the stranger that is within us has gotten above us very high. And we've been brought down very low. So low, we can't touch the flow. Because we below that motherfucker. They on top of us, man. And they got us in a situation where it's like, we're all George Floyd. We can't breathe. So we have to get back to the old path. We got to get back to these law, statutes, and commandments. Because if we don't, this is what you're going to keep seeing. It's going to be more Michael Browns. It's going to be more Trayvons. It's going to be more Icon Gurneys. It's going to be more Philando Castillos. They want to talk stop Asian hate. It was an Asian that killed that brother. An Asian who helped George Floyd die. Tao. They didn't already got their reparations in 3 weeks. Black Lives Matter been around for like 5, 6, 7 years. And they did nothing for y'all yet.
Longer than that, dog. Black Lives Matter really started with the Trayvon Martin case. That's like, what, 10 years ago?
It's 10 years now?
Yeah, man. Trayvon Martin was 2012. 13.
That's crazy, man. Give me a... Damn, what do I want? It's crazy. I just want to go to sleep. They piss me off. Wisdom of Solomon 2:18.
The book.
Yeah, go ahead. You already got it. Let's get it.
It's the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2 and verse 18. For if the just man be the son of God, who will help him? Salakia, he will help him and deliver him from the hand of his enemies.
So you got to become just, man. You got to get back to the law, statutes, commandments. That's the only way we're going to be saved from our enemies, from the hands of them that hate us. You know? Tobit 1 and 3. Got to get back to the law, man. The Psalm 140, Psalm 119, 142. We got to get back to the law, statutes, and commandments. That's the everlasting righteousness. Go ahead.
This is the book of Tobit, chapter 1, verse 18. And if the king Sennacherib had slain any.
No. 1 verse 3.
1 verse 3. I thought you said 18. Salaki.
No.
This is Tobit, chapter 1, verse 3. I, Tobit, have walked all the days of my life in the way of truth and justice.
And that's what we have to do. We have to be like Tobit. We got to walk all the days of our life in the way of truth and justice, man. Go ahead.
And I did many alms deeds to my brother and my nation, who came with me to Nineveh, into the land of the Assyrians. Keep going.
And look, Black Native, I feel what you're saying, but in this type of captivity, that means that the mother would end up losing her husband and her kid. If Trayvon Pops go out there and do something to George Zimmerman, he's the first suspect. And for retaliation, they're not going to put him in jail. They're going to probably give him the death penalty. Because they already had the case for his son and it proved that the guy was not guilty. They didn't prove it, but, you know, they said he was not guilty. And he got off. So that's the other thing that we got to think about. That's why brothers don't go retaliate. Once we see that they didn't even take the murder that was seen on television, likely, what they going to do about you going to take the law into your own hands? They say that type of stuff in the courtroom to the parents of the dude that got killed to make sure he don't go out there and try nothing. Because if you do, you're putting your family in a worse situation. Now you lost your kid and they lost the head of the household, which means the mother going to be in a tougher spot. So now he has to make a decision. Is he going to go avenge his son, or is he going to continue to raise his family and try to beat a rock for them? That's the type of bind America puts us in. And if the law wasn't slack here, we wouldn't be in that bind, because it would automatically be, you know, you killed, you must be killed. The judgment, right? But we're not getting that here. So, who you got to return, man? Is that it on Toby? Give me Baruch 401, and we finish. So y'all can go teach.
So you can come teach with us.
I'm thinking about it, but
your name is on the list, so
why?
Yep, sure is. Because you're the outer one, you automatically in there.
Yeah.
That's how we set it up.
He said my name yesterday. I thought
you and Adawan, y'all were all.
Y'all did me dirty. I'm going to work.
You know, gotta make sure the teaching going out correctly, man.
Yeah, I'll listen in for a little bit. I'll see what's going on. All right, Baruch 401. Brothers talking about Clubhouse. I can catch us on Clubhouse after this when we finish. That's where brothers been at. Damn.
Oh, my bad. I thought you had it, King.
401.
No, I got it.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
The book of Baruch, chapter 4 and verse 1. This is the book of the commandments of God, and the law that endure forever. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die.
Yeah, man. And I don't want to say this, but this is the facts. If George would have been a brother that woke up, he'd still be here right now. But you know why he didn't? His best friend, Steven Jackson. You know what he is? Muslim. He believe in that Quran. That Quran. Brothers got to stay out of that stuff, man. And I don't know if George was with it either, because they haven't spoken about his religious background or whatever. But the fact that he didn't have no beard don't make you not a Muslim, because I know a lot of Muslims ain't got no beard. The whole nation of Islam. So, you know, just come back to the law, man. That's what we got to do. We have to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments, and get to the point of, you know, being about our people. We got to Zephaniah 2:1 this thing. We got to gather ourselves together and actually become autonomous. We got to police ourselves. We got this new thing that we've been playing around with. but it has an opportunity to be serious, right? The IDC. We need something like that for the community, and we're gonna work on it. So just continue to watch the case, see what's going on with it, stay in tune with it. You know what I'm saying? Because this is your brother that's being done dirty right now, and we'll see where they take it from here. All right. So we're the Sons of Thunder Israelites. It is our prayer and desire that all Israel might be saved. Shalom.